Hey guys, this is Asim again, and this is the continuation to the previous presentation on TypeScript and SharePoint. So this is the concluding and the demonstration part of it. In terms of environment, let me quickly share with you what I have set up. I have a Windows 10 machine, I have Visual Studio Community Edition, and I have SharePoint Online, again a trial. Anybody can get all these three. The scenario or the example that I've picked up today is a basic CRUD operation. We'll be listing or fetching all the announcement lists from the SharePoint site. We'll be adding a new one, we'll be updating an existing one, and we'll be deleting the newly added list. I'll be running these scenarios using simple version, simple meaning using jQuery and JavaScript CSOM only. And then I'll be running the same thing using a TypeScript version. So the intent here is to showcase how the overall development or the developer experience improves using TypeScript, and how easy it is to manage and work with the larger libraries, right? You'll find that places I have taken the liberty of easing out on certain best practices in JavaScript, but that's okay. My focus is not on that at the moment. Then there are these different components, right? The presentation, then the code that I'll be walking you through, and even this video. So I'll post them at the respective locations, and then I'll also set up a blog, kind of consolidating and setting the right context for all of these. Alright, so having said that, let's get going. I am going to log into my demo environment. So this is demo site, and I have already configured both the apps, which we'll be walking in a bit. So I have the simple list app and I have this TS list app. There's this leftover from the previous run. Let me delete that quickly. Alright, so this is what we have. Now we just have these two apps. This is my list app. So now if I get into this, I have these four operations that I described a moment ago. Get all the lists, add a new one, update, and then delete. Okay, so let's run the first one. So these are the two ones that I have, the regular announcement and the super important announcement. So this is the super important announcement and the regular one, right? So let's go ahead and add a new one. Add a new announcement, and then I say execute. Going back to the site content, here you have this new one added right here. Notice the description. This is what we'll be changing in the update operation. So going back, and then I am saying update announcement, and I say execute, so that thing got updated. Refreshing, and then if you look at this, here we are, right? So the same thing, the same operations are then executed. These four are then executed using the TypeScript. Let's go back here, execute this one, and then this time I'm going to go ahead and carry forward and delete that from here. So I'll say delete. There it is. So if I go back here, this thing is gone. If I also go back in the site content, that thing is gone. So the point is that the CRUD operation is using both of these. Again, I'll jump into the code and show you the details. Here we go. So this solution is consisting of two projects. This is the first one, which is a simple list app, which was done or built using the jQuery and JavaScript CSOM. And then this is the other one, which is the using the TypeScript list app. Again, here we have the link for all the basic operations. This is available in the resource slide deck, so you can check this out and look at it at length. I've taken this as the base, and I have modified few things. Back over here, so basic thing in this page, I just have drop down, which is listing all the things that we just looked at, and then of course we have the message, which contains all the messages as the operations proceed. Right, so this is our JavaScript jQuery code. Here of course you have the reference over here. Now, it is consisting of certain global elements, some variables that I have declared, initialize, etc. Just get the queries and all that. But the main thing is here, right here. So you have the get announcement list, wherein you kind of get the context on the host app web, and then you get all the details of the list. Once you succeed, you loop through them, you verify if that particular list is of announcement type, and then you kind of collect that information and then show that in the message. If it doesn't work, then you render the failure message with whatever the cause was. Likewise, you have this for the create, processing, and then you have the succeed, and then the failure, right? So this is what we have. Each of these has more or less the same structure. You have a function, and then you have a success and a failure. Now let's take a look at the other part of it. So I'm jumping over into the TypeScript list app. Now this is where all the fun is. So let's take a look at the structure here. Now again, this is the same as we have in the previous one. You have pages and then scripts, but this folder is a new thing here. Let me show you how that thing came in. So when I right click on the project and I say manage NuGet packages, this is where I have the opportunity to browse and add these different TypeScript definitions. These again are coming from the project over here. If you look at the SharePoint one, this is from the definitely type. This again is available in the resource slide. I have added this link to. You can easily find it from here. So once you add these, what Visual Studio does for you is it creates these reference to these typing or TypeScript definition files in this folder, and then you can use that. So now the next thing is you would go and you would add a new TypeScript file. So here you can choose the template, you could name it appropriately and then place it in the right folder, whatever your way of organizing the code is. That creates this file. I have named that as app.ts, and then there is a corresponding JavaScript file which the transpiler emits for you, which you use in the actual file, the default.aspx, right here. Okay, and that is how the two things are connected. Let's go back to our TypeScript file and let me fold the code here. Let's walk through the different items, right? So to start with, here you have the different the global level variables or items. Then you have these different interfaces. So I have this basic CRUD interface. Like any other OOPS interface, I have defined what are the different methods that I would like any class to implement if they say that they are implementing this interface, basic CRUD. Likewise, then you have another one, logger, which has this log error method. The point being that I want to demonstrate that you could implement one or more interfaces. Moving on, you have a class operation, which is my base class, and I have defined a type. Operation type of type string, and it is public access. So that's this, and in the constructor you have to define what type it is. And then there are these other classes, the list operation and web operations, which kind of extend that. So this is an example. So I am in this case we have this web operations, which is extending the operations as a base class and then implementing the basic CRUD and logger, right? So now this is just a way I wanted to show that you could kind of generalize and kind of bring certain discipline in terms of extending a base class and implementing interfaces, but our major focus is going to be on this one. So here we have list operation, which is extending operations again and implementing these two interfaces. So if I look at the constructor, so notice how that variables are defined as private. I have used this nomenclature of underscore where I don't want these to be accessible outside. And then I have these different operations, same operations that I was doing earlier. Now here is a quick thing. So if I press Alt F12, I get an insight into what is this particular method or constructor in this case expecting, right? So the different parameters and then the return type. So that gets me a good amount of clarity, right? I have a good understanding of what goes in and what to expect back. Now moving on, the other thing we looked at was this operator, right? So notice here when you have this execute query async, there are these callbacks that have to be returned. Now when I am making a call to this, you would expect that this to point to the list object function, but when it goes in the callback, in the absence of a lambda function, it sets the context to the method which is being called. Now I cannot possibly explain this concept all in this small session. I would really encourage you to go through some of the links on the TypeScript which explain this concept at length, but the point I'm trying to make here is that using a lambda function, it makes it easier for a user or developer to kind of set the right context. Also notice how I can make a call to the constructor, the super constructor, meaning the base class that I am kind of extending over here. So list operation, this is the class, operations is the parent class. So when I make this call, it is actually giving a call to the constructor for operations. Alright, so now this is how it goes further, and then you have this succeed method. I do not want this to be made available publicly, so I've marked that as private. Use this underscore nomenclature, and then of course I am going through this again. Notice how I have a clarity in terms of the type of what it is, so I can quickly go through. It's more verbose without cluttering or adding unnecessary code here. Log error. Now this log error has been used in different methods. So I have this add object, and here is log error. So if I right click on this and I get find all references, you can see that I've used it practically all the places for logging the failures, for adding a list, for deleting a list, for updating a list, etc., etc. Right. Let's now jump into the JavaScript file here. Now this is one of the the interesting thing in the presentation. We talked about out of the box best practices, the out of the box JavaScript code which follows best practices is emitted. So this is an example right here. You can see that the right amount of closures and namespaces have been used right across this code. See the code, all this that you see here has been emitted from the TypeScript file, right? So notice how it has been the namespace and the closures have been done right. Then you have the prototype. This is your list operation right here, and then you have these prototypes extending that list operation function, right? This is all the JavaScript thing. The other thing, the extends right here, when we are extending the operations class and using the list operation and the web operation. So this again has been generated for you by the TypeScript compiler. And the other thing I want to show you here is if we go into the asynchronous calls. Remember there is this object here. So this line 63, wherein the variable this has been created and then it has been passed on into the asynchronous function for the success as well as the failure, is something which has been done by TypeScript for you. So again, as a hardcore JavaScript developer, you are supposed to know this thing. That's the right to passage, right? But TypeScript kind of makes it easier for you. It generates this for you without you worrying. The only thing you have to do is make sure you reference or use the lambda function. So This is all over here. Again, I know I've been going through this pretty fast, but I'll post all this, all the code which I have here in the Codeplex project, and I'll share the presentation as well as the resources and the other things right here. So here, that's all I have for the TypeScript and the SharePoint. I'm looking forward to your feedback. I hope this helps someone in understanding the concept and implementing that. Thank you for your time. Hope you find this useful.